65 had a good promise going for it. A movie about surviving a planet inhabited by dinosaurs? Well, you got me hooked. But after watching it, I was disappointed. What could have been an exciting and suspenseful movie turned out to be mediocre for two reasons. One, the protagonist's overall goal, and two, the danger aspect was ruined. Much like Interstellar, we begin on a planet where the father makes the ultimate sacrifice of parting ways from his family to embark on a long voyage in order to help and provide for his family.
And I know it's because of me.
No, it's not because of you, it's for you.
Come on, Murph. Don't make me leave like this, Murph.
It's the beginning of a good motive, but ultimately falls flat when we find out one key detail that plays into the character's goal.
So how long will you be gone this time?
After crashing into Earth, Mills, Adam Driver, looks through his surroundings and realizes he's the only survivor with no way of getting home. He's about to pull the trigger on himself, but hesitates. It is then that he goes back to the ship and begins watching clips of his daughter, Naveen, Chloe Coleman, when he gets a notification from the ship of another survivor. Mills goes and rescues the survivor, whose name is Koa, Ariana Greenblatt, and takes her back to the ship. He scouts the area once more and finds out that there's a way to escape the planet, but they're not alone. He convinces Koa to tag along by lying to her that her family is on top of the mountain. And now we enter the promise of the premise, what we went to the movies for. A journey through Earth 65 million years ago. There were so many good elements that could have been built up. The stakes of not reaching Solaris in time to help Naveen, getting to the escape pod in a dinosaur-infested world, to even facing the consequences of lying to Koa. But in the end, each one was diminished one way or another. The stakes of not reaching Solaris were ruined when we find out that Naveen passed away. This diminishes every motive and action Mills did before the audience find out. Instead, his actions and goals switch to survivability, and while that in itself is good, the stakes have a deeper impact if there's something relying on the protagonist's success besides survival. When we, the audience, finally get told or shown that Naveen passed away, it is too late into the movie. Look, don't get me wrong, it's a very impacting scene, and we feel empathy for Mills, since he took the job to help his daughter, and in the end, he failed. Trying to give his daughter more time to live only took away what little time she had left with him. So now Mills has to live with the regret that he caused Naveen pain. So, we understand why he was eager to pull the trigger earlier. Yet, he still hesitated, and we don't know why. His actions, even after knowing that he failed, do not coincide because his motives and goals change. But we as the audience don't know that until much later. If we cannot follow the protagonist's journey, then we cannot be fully invested. We should learn new things as the protagonist learns them, not omit things until we need to see it, especially if it ties in with their motives. Yes, their motive is to survive and reach the escape pod, but the main goal was to complete the job to help Naveen with her illness. It's the reason Mills is in this situation to begin with, and if we don't establish a change of goals before, then we as the audience still have that goal in mind. You can still have the goal of surviving, while also having the main goal of getting back home to be with Naveen. In 65, Mills felt an obligation to help and protect Koa. Since he failed to help and protect his own daughter, he does not want to commit the same mistake again. He knows Naveen is gone, but we as the audience don't know that. So him wanting to protect Koa comes across as protection only. Because of this, when Koa finds out that her parents are gone, Mills resonates with her because he too lost family. It's a nice, tender, sweet moment, but Mills has no character development because he remains static, or at least since the crash. Typically, the arc is fulfilled after Act 2B, which leads into Act 3. Mills should have the epiphany to not make the same mistake with Koa during this time instead of the beginning of Act 2A, when he finds her. Instead, maybe Mills could have been in a call with his daughter that made him lose focus into crashing with the asteroids. That way, not only is the goal of surviving a consequence of his own action, but he would also feel guilty since he was the cause of Koa losing her family. The stakes are also higher because he would need to get home because his daughter is alive, but getting worse. Or another route could be that Koa's parents were alive. They, like Mills, left their daughter in order to help her find a better world, a better planet. But Koa became a stowaway in the hopes that she can be with her family. So when the ship crashes into Earth, Mills cannot identify this stowaway. Through the journey, Mills finds out that he was too late, that his daughter did not make it and passed away. Both of them eventually reach the destination, but find out that the parents also didn't make it. This devastates Koa. Mills begins to open up to Koa for the first time ever, because he learns that her parents made the same mistake he did. They left their daughter in search for a better life for her. So, he chooses to not make the same mistake again and begins to be there for Koa. That way, instead of getting from point A to point B with survivability in mind, we get to establish a better relationship between these two characters, and the dinosaurs being the obstacle to both escaping Earth and building up that relationship creates tension. The dinosaurs were the biggest disappointment in the movie, because the only reason this movie had dinosaurs was to add an obstacle for the protagonists. Their only purpose is to add peril to the heroes, and nothing more. In every scene a dinosaur or prehistoric animal is involved, their life is in danger. And while that adds a sense of suspense, if all we get from dinosaurs is suspense, then it becomes redundant very quickly. Take a look at Jurassic Park, for instance. Besides peril, there was also beauty with these creatures. We begin with their majestic presence and later come to understand their dangerous side as well. It demonstrates both beauty and chaos in one sitting. It allows us to see both sides of these creatures and makes us wonder whether or not it was a good idea to bring these animals back to life. But in 65, all there was danger. So no matter what point in time, when we see a dinosaur, we know something's about to go down. Another way this movie could have been written, though it would have altered the story greatly, would be that there were several survivors, which, trying to get to the escape pod, were killed off one by these dinosaurs, or the environment. This way, we get a sense of suspense as we fear for their survivability because we see the dinosaurs as real threats, and we can see what Mills is willing to do to get out of Earth to be with his family. Though again, I will say that this would mean Naveen has to be alive. Overall, 65 is a pretty mediocre movie. There were some cool parts in the movie though. For example, when Mills fought the Oviraptor and his gadget fell, we remained in the fight through some hologram. That was pretty cool. I love that. But for the majority of the movie, it felt bland. The suspense wasn't as impactful, especially if you're going to have some setup, but no payoff.